All I have to say is, wow, Mikey Madison, whew, she is hot in this movie. What's going on, guys? I would just like to thank you guys for clicking on this video. I know I've been kind of inactive lately. I'm definitely sorry for that. Definitely busy at work lately, especially with the holidays and everything. I just got out of the theater from checking out Anora, and this is actually my second time checking out this film. I want to thank Ches Reviews for actually putting this film onto me. He did a trailer reaction for this film, and I found out that it was directed by Sean Baker, which I really do love that director. He's done films like Tangerine, The Florida Project, and Red Rocket. Now, this film, it stars Mikey Madison. You would know her from the Scream film, and also Mark Eydelshteyn, which I've never heard of him before, but he also stars in this film. Now, what is this film actually about? Because it has a lot of buzz, possibly some Oscar talk with Mikey Madison's performance. Well, it's about a stripper named Anora. She goes by Annie in this. She works in Manhattan, New York, if I can get that accent right. One day you have this guy named Ivan, who is a young kid who is only 21 years old. He is a Russian. He requests to have someone actually speak Russian, and Anora can actually speak Russian. They have a private dance, and before you know it, they end up having a casual kind of relationship, having sex, exchanging for money. He lives in this mansion. His parents live in Russia, and his father is some type of political business leader where he makes a ton of money. He has this crazy mansion out in Brooklyn, New York. And this mansion, it is beautiful. The cinematography in this film is excellent. I believe they did film this in New York. There are some really cool shots, like on the boardwalk and into the ocean. There's also some really cool scenery within the mansion, especially with the son Ivan's room, where you're overlooking like a balcony and you have like the water and the boats. From an editing style, it is very mixed in how it's edited because it's kind of fast paced in its editing. If you ever seen Uncut Gems, there are scenes in here where it's very loud and very in your face. There's some funny comedy here, which I think Sean Baker always does a really good job with his comedy, and here I was laughing throughout this film. There are scenes where there's some arguments going on and I was just busting out laughing. From a theme perspective, now the first half of this movie is mainly about Ivan and Anora meeting, hooking up, having sex, and then eventually something happens to alter their relationship, and then this movie becomes more of a cat and mouse game, which is interesting in a way, but I think there's some commentary in this film that is kind of important. There are people that get into relationships, they rush into things, they get something really good in front of them, and they just go for it, but they don't really know the person ultimately, and they rush into things, which this is definitely one of those films. There is power struggles in here. There is control. There is family values. I don't know much about Russian families, but there is a point in here where there's a lot of control within this Russian family and legacy, and how the fact that even though there's so much wealth in this family, there's a lot of control. So there's a lot of control, wealth, greed. There's a lot of different themes that are being screamed out here at the audience. Now, I felt really sorry for Anora's character because even though she was really all in on what was really going on, she did a really good job at acting. She does a really good job with emotions and handling those emotions, from being mad. There's parts where she's screaming at the top of her lungs, and I was even laughing at that. But also, as the film really develops, you feel more and more sorry for her character, mainly because the fact that the guy she's with, he's just a flat out jerk. He's selfish. And I can't tell you how many times, and this goes for men and women, especially younger ones who get into certain relationships, they're selfish. They're just in it for the fun. They're just in it for the fact that they have someone really around. And that's really Ivan's character. As he really goes along in this film, you can really tell that he has a lack of immaturity. He really doesn't know how to communicate and connect with people. And I think there is a problem within relationships throughout in real life where we have problems really connecting with that said person. And I think this film has a lot to really say about that. There's also a character in here named Igor, which I thought was a very interesting character. And there's certain scenes in here, especially with emotions, where I was like, okay, I know exactly what's going to happen with his character. and it went exactly that route, and mainly because there was a lot of foreshadowing with his character. There was also a funny scene too where they're actually at a burger joint, and he is just eating the crap out of a burger. I think out of any eating scene this year, I've never seen somebody stuff so much burger in their mouth while they're trying to talk, and it definitely was making me laugh. But also the fact here, with the fact that there is so much comedy, I just think they do a really good job, especially with Sean Baker directing this, of really making real characters, making you want to connect with them, making you feel their pain, their emotions, and really hating certain characters as well. Sean Baker does a really good job of capturing real people, and he does it with every single film that he does. He does a really good job of capturing real emotions, making you care, and I think that's kind of what makes this film really great. Now, I wasn't really tearing up in this film or having super strong emotions like a film like Ghostlight or The Substance, where that's just completely crazy and a different kind of movie, but I definitely felt for the characters in here, especially towards the end, which I do think that some people are going to feel a little bit kind of uncertain about the ending. I've seen it twice, obviously, now, and the ending, I totally get where the director was coming from a perspective of music. Now, the music here, if you ever watch Bodies, 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 there's a song in there called Daddy AF. That's kind of the theme of the music here, mainly because the fact that most of the time with strippers, they dance to like rap music and sexual kind of music. So that's the kind of music that you will hear here. Now, I do also think that the director, Sean Baker here, with how he really did the weather here and the coloring and shading, there's a lot to be said about that, because in certain aspects, it's cold, there's snow, there's sun, there's also a red tint that he has in the club. And I think a lot of that really goes hand in hand with the moods of the movie, which I noticed it a lot more in the second half of this movie, mainly with the emotions of the movie and how everything was really going, mainly because towards that second half, a lot of stuff is really cold, kind of bleak, and really kind of an uncertainty in the future. And lastly, before I end this review, I want to talk about one negative that I had, which would be the fact that Anora, we don't really know too much about her family. She lives in Brooklyn near this train that rides by in like a townhome with a friend and her boyfriend, but we never really get a background of her family. Does she really keep in touch with her family? Is her family even alive? We don't get that. I wish we got a little bit more backstory with her character. But I also want to touch on the fact that I do think there is some commentary towards strippers and how they're treated, more so the fact that it doesn't seem like a job to maybe some other individuals, but the fact that they don't get treated with like a 401k or any kind of pensions or anything like that as far as like a future with like retirement or anything like that, there is a little glimpse where they actually talk about that. And I feel like they should be a little bit more respected, because it is a job at the end of the day, whether you agree with it or not. I do think that there should be a little bit more for them. And I'm glad they touched on that a little bit, but obviously that's not exactly what the movie is about fully. But overall for me, I really like this movie. It's one of my top favorite films of the year. I would give it a 5 out of 5. I really can't say much bad about it. I had fun with it. I think that Sean Baker does a really good job with the editing here, and I understand that's not going to be for everyone. Everything really connected for me, especially within the second part of viewing this film. But overall, I loved it, and I think you guys should definitely check it out. If it sounds like it's up your alley, just know that there is quite a bit of nudity in this film, and it is a longer film at almost 2.5 hours. So be prepared if you are wanting to check this out. It does take a little bit of time to get through, and I think it's going to be ending its run at theaters. But Neon is really strong right now, putting out great movies. I've loved pretty much everything that they have actually released this year, so I'm glad to report that I really did enjoy this movie. But I want to hear from you guys down in the comments. What did you guys think of Anora? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you just think it was kind of meh? And if you haven't checked it out yet, are you going to check it out when it comes to VOD or streaming? Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.